This is the Tigran Petrosian International Chess Tournament. It's a memorial tournament from November 4th through November 11th, 2014. A lot of great players in this one. Grischuk, Aronian, Kramnik, Karyakin, just to name a few. It's a great tournament, and I hope you enjoy the games. Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Round 3 of the Tigran Petrosian Memorial 2014. It's a great game between Alexander Grischuk and Alexander Morozevich. Grischuk is white and Morozevich is black. Let's get right to it. It's going to be a Slav. I'll tell you, Grischuk's playing some great chess. Great chess. A6. If instead pawn takes, A4 pretty much settles that, and you're going to get the pawn back. After A6, queen to C2, G6, typical stuff. E4, D takes, knight takes, bishop. Is pretty much standard stuff here. Small advantage for white, but that's just the opening advantage, I think, by moving first. Just develop C2, castles, castles, bishop F5. Like I said, it's pretty much what they call theory right now. Knight takes check, bishop takes, queen to B3. Looks like there'd be some action on the queen side, but these two bishops bearing down right here, though, is pretty tough for white, I think, trying to maneuver around. Queen to C7, H3. Kind of keeping an eye on the G4 square. C5. And, of course, he's got to push. Get that center control. A5. Bishop H6. Hit the rook. Rook D8. Now, like I said, small advantage for white, but nothing really spectacular. But interesting position, though. Black can't trap the bishop by pawn up, of course, because the knight and the bishop hit that square. Is that really bishop doing much at H6 right now? I don't know. We'll have to see. G4 to go after the bishop. Bishop C8. Now, it's splitting hairs, but the computer liked D7, but C8's just as good. It looks really awkward. It looks like there's no development on the queen side at all, which there really isn't. Rook A to D1. Black's a little cramped up, but it's not the end of the world. Knight comes up. Other rook comes over. And rook to A6. Now there's an interesting rook lift. And A4 is the first choice in the computer, but I like rook to A6. Now the computer likes rook to A6. Bishop F1, just so that rook can really control. He can always bring him back around to here, or maybe here if he has to later. Rook B6. Hitting the queen. Queen comes over to E3. Good spot for that queen. Bishop takes. Sacrifices a pawn, but he's going to have to bury that queen now. Now, black's up a pawn, but there's a tiny advantage for white. And I'll tell you, I like white's position right here. It's a lot easier to play. That C4 pawn's a little backwards, but it's not that big of a deal. Knight G5. Bishop D4, hitting the queen. Queen goes to G3. Good spot for that. Nice battery here of the queen bishop. And also the queen's right in direct line with the king. E5. D takes en passant. F takes. Bishop G2. Good spot for that as well. Defensive as well as offensive. And both of these bishops now are just ripping black's queen side here. E5, hitting the bishop. Queen F6 was worth looking at, and I think after bishop B3, queen D8 again, comes out the same really. But with the E5 pawn, forces the bishop to move off, and that pawn can start moving. And this is where Morozevich, I think, falters a little bit. Rook to D6 is the computer's choice. Or queen E7. He goes rook f6. And it jumps up pretty good for white. It's almost a 1.25 advantage now. Now remember, black's up a pawn. So have a 1.25 advantage being down a pawn. You've got a pretty good position. Rook to d6. Then after knight to e4, rook over there is a suggestion for the computer. Knight to f3, hitting the bishop. And you see this a lot when you miscue is in the rook to f6 move. You realize that it was an error, and even though it looked okay, but now you realize it's a mistake, and you make another error on top of it. Rook back to d6 was the proper move, or queen to b6, one of the two. Rook to d6, just to admit it was wrong. But it's tough psychologically to do that. So he went knight to b6, and there's another miscue. Queen to c7 probably was the move. Or just admit you were wrong and move the rook back to d6. Now, here it comes. Knight takes, bishop takes. Interesting might have been bishop takes, a5. Then after queen to d6, bishop takes, queen takes, knight takes, pawn takes, rook takes. With a pretty good advantage for white. But knight takes was fine too. And after e takes, bishop g5. But he has to move the rook back, or move the rook over, I should say. So it's still there. Now queen to e5. Now it's just piling on. What's he going to do here? Doesn't have much choice. Has to go knight to d7. Bishop takes. It's just piling on. Queen takes. If rook had taken, queen e7, queen f8, bishop checks, king h8, queen takes, rook to b1, and it's looking very bad. But after queen takes, knight takes, rook to b1, and it sucks right now for black. Rook to f7. Now, compared to like rook to d8, it's the only chance at counterplay. And after rook to b5, bishop, rook takes, bishop c6. It's still, you're down the exchange plus. And you're in a lot of trouble here. After rook to f7, g5 hitting the knight. Knight has to move. Rook checks. Rook. Bishop checks. King has to move. And then rook over. And that's finally it. Morozevich threw in the towel. So that's enough. So that's 3 in a row in this tournament for Grischuk. Now, interesting fact I saw in Baku, where Grischuk played the last tournament, he won the last 3. So this is 6 in a row for him. And at this level, 6 in a row is very much like Caruana's run in St. Louis in the Sinkfield Cup. This put Grischuk over the 2,800 barrier and put him in 3rd place in the world after this game. So hats off to Alexander, a.k.a. Sasha Grischuk. I heard he's a great poker player too. So he's playing really well. I'll give you an idea what would have happened why he resigned. After h5, rook takes, knight takes, rook d8 is going to lose a piece. Bishop takes, rook takes check, king, rook, takes the pawn. I mean, you're down a full rook. It's over. Anyway, folks, that's the game from round 3. Looking very much forward to starting tomorrow, Saturday, on the 8th of November, is game 1 of the World Chess Championship. And it's going to, unfortunately, for us on the East Coast here in the United States, it starts at 7 a.m. our time. So hopefully I'll be able to get some of the video and replay it. Or maybe I'll just get up. We'll have to see. Anyway, folks, I want you all to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.